Everyone, it's Lindsay and I'm back today with a video on dimensional die cutting. And you'll have to excuse my voice, I just had a sneezing fit, I think from allergies. But I want to get this done before the weekend hits because I try to not work on any blog things or design team things on the weekend. So now, to begin my card, I'm starting out with the Fancy Frames die set, and I've went ahead and cut just a white piece of cardstock with the larger plain stitched rectangle. I'll also be using the Scene Builders die set, which has this great cloud in it, and that stitching that's on the outside of the cloud is going to come in really handy on this card. So I've also made a mask from the stamp I'm going to be using. I'm just using that as a placeholder. I don't want my die cuts to interfere with the stamp at all, so I'm going to go ahead and place that stamped image down just so I know not to die cut into that. I haven't stamped on it yet because I didn't want any of the ridges from my cutting plates that sometimes can get pressed into your paper on that stamped image, so I like to stamp after I do die cutting. Now once I had two clouds in, I did one in the top right hand corner, one kind of towards the bottom left but slightly up, and then one in the bottom right hand corner as well. So I did three. I saved two of the inner cloud, two of the white die cuts, and now I'm cutting two of those clouds from vellum as well. I'm going to use those as shadows later on. So for my stamping, I am using the Cape Crusader stamp set. I'm just using this little Wonder Cat that's adorable, and I'm stamping it right in the center of that panel that I've die cut into with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I will be coloring with my colored pencils and Gamsol, so that is what ink works best for me. If you were to replicate this card and wanted to do a different coloring medium, just make sure you use a black ink that coordinates with your coloring medium. I am using some typical Wonder Woman colors. I'm using some golds, some reds, and royal blues. Now, I don't know if these are in the right place or not. I was in my closet doing this coloring. It was late at night and I was watching Sherlock Holmes. I was really into it and I didn't want to turn it off and look up a real picture of Wonder Woman's outfit. So I kind of guessed and I liked the way it turned out, so that's all that matters. Now on this little cat, whenever I was doing the coloring, sometimes you get a little bit of a buildup over your stamped lines with colored pencils. So I just take a micron pen and go over some of those lines just to darken them back up. Now once that was completed, I wanted to go ahead and have my stamped image stand out even more from that white background. I'm doing a lot of white on this card, and to kind of offset that so it's not so overwhelming, I'm going to put a nice halo around this little cat image. This is the same mask that I used beforehand. I always make my masks before I do any cards. So this is from Ink and Dinkadoo masking paper. I just stamp it and fussy cut it out. Very simple and easy, and I can save these on the back of the stamp packaging, so then I can go back and reuse them over and over. They stay sticky for a pretty long while. Now if you don't have that masking paper, you could use post-it notes, you could use rubber cement if you wanted to. Anything will work, but I'm using Salty Ocean Distressing just to put that nice halo around. I didn't want to go too far out because I didn't want it to interfere with those clouds that I had die cut. I did get a little bit of buildup around those cut edges, but nothing too bad. Once I had that done, I started adding my fun foam onto the back of this first panel, and I also added it onto the larger scalloped rectangle from that same Fancy Frames die set. I cut that from white cardstock as well. So I'm going to layer these all up with fun foam and double-sided adhesive. So this thing's going to be really dimensional. I love it. It's not something I do a whole lot of. I don't use a whole lot of dimension on my cards normally. I do like the way it turned out on this, and I think it's worth the extra postage or hand delivery that this would entail. So with those clouds, I saved two of the die cuts from white cardstock and cut out two vellum clouds. I'm going to use the vellum behind the white cardstock just to make a nice little shadow and kind of offset them from that white background, white clouds. It gives a little bit of a breakup. Now I am just using some liquid glue to put these together. I used a matte glue. Just be careful when you use something like glossy accents that you don't let any seep out and add to shine. On a card like this, that shine is going to show up. If you let any squeeze out, it's going to be kind of a distraction. So just be careful. Now once I had those clouds together, I did put them underneath an acrylic block with a heavy bottle on top just to flatten them out a little bit. Then I'll use some fun foam and double-sided adhesive to pop these up as well. Now whenever I do any sort of object that are like embellishments on my cards, so these I would consider my embellishments on this card, I like to cluster them together. So on the bottom I have 3 of them clustered together, and then on the top I'll put that last cloud against the die cut cloud. And then that creates a kind of cluster of them. I just like the look of that better, but you don't necessarily have to go that route. Now once I had that done, I removed the backing paper on the adhesive on the back panel, and again that was popped up with fun foam. So I have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3 layers of dimension on this card. So it's big, but I love it. Now for my sentiment, I used You're My Hero from the Cape Crusaders stamp set. I angled it or rounded it up a little bit just by moving it on my acrylic block so it would fit that banner from the flag banner die set that I die cut from white cardstock. Then on the back of that, I'm going to add more fun foam and pop that up as well, because everything else is dimensional. Why not the sentiment? I popped that right up against the little stamped image, and that's going to complete the card for today. I did leave the inside of this blank because I thought it could be used as a thank you or birthday card. I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go with the inside of it yet, so I did leave it blank. Here are a few pictures of the finished card. On the left side of your screen, you're going to see a few different links you can click on. The top will take you to a video you might enjoy watching next. The bottom left will take you to the supply list for this card. And the bottom right will subscribe you to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!